For the last 18 years, we've asked a similar question to all respondents to the survey about how confident they are about the next 12 months. The most staggering result from the survey is that this time around, firms are more confident than they've ever been. Now, I can understand that after a couple of years of maybe good financial performance, firms are feeling quite buoyant, but in light of the political uncertainty, both UK and overseas, and the wider issues and impact of Brexit, I think we find it particularly surprising that firms are as confident as they state within the responses. Since the referendum in 2016, we've been asking firms about what their thoughts are on Brexit and the impact it will have on their firms. Interestingly enough, the results this year have moved a bit from last year. This year, roughly a third are split between those who see Brexit as a negative, those who see Brexit as a positive, and interestingly enough, those who are unsure, reflecting the fact that maybe the impact of Brexit so far has not been quite as harsh as people thought, but also that maybe some firms now see Brexit as an opportunity, given clients might need additional advice. The one regional shift and change we've seen on this is in relation to Scottish firms, where a significant majority of firms in Scotland simply see Brexit as a threat. Competitive threat is one of the key challenges that face law firms. In terms of where that competitive threat is coming from, we're finding actually the responses are generally the usual suspects. So it's similar sized firms in similar structure and focus. Plus also, we're seeing in-house lawyers as being a threat, as work is taken effectively out of the market and being done by corporates themselves. There are perhaps three ways in which we could look at the strategy that the Big Four firms are deploying. The first one is that they're simply dabbling in this sector and they may lose interest. The second is that they're actually only looking at certain areas of the legal market, perhaps the higher profitable work, and that they won't go mainstream. The third way of looking at the market is that actually they are taking this very seriously as a big strategic opportunity. So they may be starting by focusing on certain aspects of the legal market. Personally, my view is that I think they have made a significant move into this market and are unlikely to be unseated that easily. And therefore, in years to come, will be a direct threat to a number of the more traditional firms. Attracting and retaining talent has come through as one of the key challenges that firms face. A lot of emphasis is made around the headline salary numbers that are paid out, and of course there have been some high-profile moves, particularly by US firms and associate salaries over the last few weeks and months or so. While that may only affect the upper echelons of the marketplace, of course that has an impact as it trickles down, and I think it is important that while firms clearly need to pay a competitive salary, they look at other ways in which they can nurture, encourage and retain their staff. Technology within law firms is seen as a key opportunity, but perhaps surprisingly, where firms seem to be focusing is more on what you might call the traditional areas of investment in technology. So improving the relationship with clients and the communication flow, the workflow process that firms use internally to try and improve efficiency, and of course also cybersecurity, all rank very highly. Since the introduction of GDPR, there have obviously been a number of high-profile announcements by corporates in terms of data breaches, and I think this has just brought cybersecurity up the agenda, particularly for law firms who are obviously very concerned about client confidentiality. What we're not seeing is a big take-up in more revolutionary technology in the form of data analytics or artificial intelligence. Perhaps, possibly, because firms are still a little bit unsure as to the way forward in this area, and perhaps also they're simply waiting for other firms to make the move, see who's successful, what systems they're deploying, and then will simply be happy just to copy them and respond in that manner. The responses to the survey in terms of how firms are looking to expand demonstrate that around 4 in 10 firms are looking to expand geographically. However, surprisingly, the results of the survey show that that is a focus very much on the UK and not overseas. Around 1 in 5 firms is looking at acquiring a smaller firm. One assumes to actually give them a stronger geographic footprint across the UK. Yet again, in terms of the survey results, we see that firms are looking at lockup as being a key way to actually enhance the finances of the firm. Disappointingly, of course, this has been a highlight of the survey over the last few years, and empirical evidence would suggest that if anything, lockup is getting worse, not better. It's particularly important in light of the uncertainty ahead that firms do have a strong financial base, improving lockup and improving their cash reserves. In terms of recommendations for the future for law firms, I think you can compartmentalise that in 2 ways. First of all, there's the longer term strategic imperatives, and for most firms that is to ensure they differentiate themselves in the marketplace from their competitors and an increasingly competitive industry. However, in the short term, with the UK leaving the EU imminently, firms need to focus on the here and now, make sure that they've got a tight financial discipline and they're retaining cash within the business to deal with any bumps and knocks that may be coming down that road as we progress towards March next year.